Last night, you probably visited another world. Not with your body. Not with a machine. Not through a door. And yet somehow, you went somewhere else. Maybe you flew through the sky. Maybe you visited a place you have never seen before. Maybe you met someone you have not thought about in years. Or maybe you met someone who is no longer alive. And while it was happening, it felt completely real. Then suddenly, you woke up. The sky outside looked normal. Your room was exactly where you left it. And whatever happened was gone. But the question remained. What exactly just happened? Welcome to Marv Channel. Today, we are exploring one of humanity's oldest and most fascinating mysteries. A mystery that every civilization has experienced. A mystery that happens to nearly every person on Earth. A mystery that still is not fully understood today. What did ancient humans think dreams were? To answer that question, we need to travel back in time. Imagine living 20,000 years ago. Long before cities. Long before roads. Long before books. Long before schools. Long before science. You live near a small cave. A fire keeps your family warm. During the day, survival is everything. You search for food. You avoid dangerous animals. You stay close to your tribe. And when night arrives, darkness takes over the world. There are no streetlights. No electricity. No glowing screens. Only the stars above. And the fire beside you. The world feels alive. The wind has a voice. The forest has a mood. The moon seems to watch you. And every sound in the dark feels important. Then eventually, you fall asleep. Your body remains on the ground. But your mind goes somewhere else. You find yourself walking through a forest. The wind feels real. The trees look real. The ground beneath your feet feels real. Everything feels real. Then you see someone. You recognize them immediately. It is your grandfather. But your grandfather died years ago. You watched him die. You helped bury him. And yet, here he is. Standing right in front of you. He speaks to you. He gives you advice. He warns you about danger. You listen carefully. Then suddenly, you wake up. The fire is still burning. Your tribe is still asleep. The cave is quiet. Your grandfather is gone. But the memory of a dream remains. So how would you explain that? Remember, you have no science. No psychology. No brain scans. No books about sleep. No one can tell you that it was only your imagination. So for many ancient humans, the answer may have felt obvious. Maybe the dream was real. Maybe you truly met him. Maybe dreams were not random pictures. Maybe dreams were messages. Across human history, many cultures believed dreams were meaningful. Not because they were foolish, but because dreams felt powerful. Even today, a dream can change your mood for the entire day. A dream can make you miss someone. A dream can make you afraid. A dream can make you feel hopeful. So imagine how powerful dreams must have felt thousands of years ago. In ancient Egypt, dreams were often taken seriously. Some Egyptians believed dreams could carry messages from the gods. Important dreams were sometimes written down. People looked for hidden meanings. They searched for warnings. They searched for advice. They searched for signs. To them, dreams were not just dreams. Dreams mattered. In ancient Greece, dreams were sometimes connected to healing. Some people traveled to special temples. They slept there. They hoped a dream would give them an answer. If they were sick, they hoped a dream might reveal a cure. If they were confused, they hoped a dream might show the right path. Imagine going to sleep with a question and waking up believing the universe answered. In ancient China, some traditions imagined sleep in a different way. The body stayed still, but something deeper could travel. A spirit. A soul. A part of the person that was not trapped inside the body. During sleep, That part could wander. It could visit distant places. It could meet other beings. It could return with meaning. Different cultures had different stories. But many of them shared one idea. Dreams were not empty. Dreams were important. Dreams were connected to something bigger. And maybe the reason is simple. Dreams are strange. When you are dreaming, impossible things feel normal. You can fly. You can breathe underwater. You can walk with people from the past. You can visit places that do not exist. And while it is happening, you usually believe it. That is the power of dreams. They do not ask for permission. They simply become your reality. For ancient humans, that mystery needed an explanation. So they created stories. Stories about ancestors. And those stories helped people understand something they could not explain. But dreams were not only mysterious. They were also useful. A dream could help someone remember danger. And maybe that is why dreams became part of human culture. They appeared in myths. They appeared around campfires. Long before humans wrote things down. They were probably already telling each other dreams. One person would wake up. They would sit by the fire. A place where the past can return. A place where questions become images. And maybe that is why dreams remain so powerful. Not because we fully understand them, but because part of us still does not. And maybe some mysteries are more beautiful that way. Thanks for watching. And before you go, what is the strangest dream you have ever had? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoy exploring fascinating questions, forgotten history, and humanity's greatest mysteries, subscribe to Marv channel. See you in the next mystery.
Quick question. What are you afraid of? Spiders? Heights? The dark? Now here's a scarier question. Where did those fears come from? Because the answer goes back further than you think. Way further. Ancient humans weren't just scared of monsters under the bed. They were scared of real things. Things that could, and did, kill them. But here's what's wild. Some of those exact fears, you still have them. Right now. Running inside your body. This is what they feared most. Fear number 1. Darkness. And I don't mean being a little nervous when the lights go off. I mean pure, absolute terror. Because for ancient humans, darkness wasn't just uncomfortable. Darkness meant something was out there. Something with better eyes than you. Something faster than you. And it was hungry. There were no streetlights, no phone flashlights, no way to see what was coming. The moment the sun went down, you were blind. And something else wasn't. This is why you still feel uneasy walking down a dark hallway at night. That's not weakness. That's 300,000 years of survival instinct, still running in your body. Right now. Fear number 2. Predators. Here's something school never told you. For most of human history, we were not the top predators. We were the prey. Saber-toothed cats, giant hyenas, cave lions the size of bears. These animals didn't fear us. We feared them. Early humans weren't powerful hunters with weapons and tactics. They were small. They were slow and they were easy to catch. Every rustle in the grass, every shadow at the tree line, every sound in the dark could be the last thing you ever heard. This is why your heart suddenly pounds when something moves fast at the corner of your eye. Your brain still thinks it's a predator. It's been doing that for hundreds of thousands of years, and it is not going to stop anytime soon. Fear number 3. Starvation. No supermarkets, no refrigerators, no delivery apps. If the hunt failed, you didn't eat. If the season was bad, you didn't eat. If you got injured and couldn't move, you didn't eat. And if you didn't eat long enough, you died. It was that simple. This fear was so constant, so deep, that it literally rewired the human brain. Why do you eat past the point of being full? Why do you crave sugar and fat more than anything else? Because your ancient brain is still screaming. Store it now. You don't know when the next meal is coming. That voice in your head at 2 in the morning, standing in front of the fridge, that voice is 300,000 years old. Fear number 4. Getting sick. Imagine waking up with a high fever. Your body is burning. You can't move. You're getting weaker by the hour. And you have absolutely no idea why. No concept of bacteria. No understanding of viruses. No doctors. No medicine. No explanation of any kind. Your body is just betraying you. And there is nothing you can do about it. Ancient humans didn't just fear sickness. They feared it like a curse. Like something dark had entered their body from the outside. So they invented explanations, shamans, rituals, sacrifices, prayers to things they couldn't see. Not because they were foolish. Because when something terrifies you, and you cannot explain it, you invent a reason. That's not primitive. That is deeply, deeply human, and we still do it today. Fear number 5, and this one might actually surprise you. Namakan other humans, not predators, not storms, not sickness, other people. Rival tribes, strangers, someone who looked different, sounded different, came from somewhere unfamiliar. To ancient humans, a stranger wasn't just unfamiliar. A stranger could mean war. Your tribe was everything. Your tribe shared food, protected children, kept each other alive. An outsider threatened all of that in an instant. This is where tribalism was born. That deep, gut-level suspicion of people who aren't part of your group. And before you think you've evolved past it, your brain still does this every single day. Fear number 6, the sky, specifically, the things up there they could not control. Thunder, lightning, floods, earthquakes, and eclipses. Imagine seeing a solar eclipse for the very first time. No science, no calendar warning, no astronomer telling you everything is fine. You're standing outside on an ordinary day, and then the sun, the thing that has risen every single morning of your entire life, starts disappearing, slowly, silently, gone. To ancient humans, that wasn't astronomy. That was the end of the world. So they did what humans have always done. When faced with something terrifying and unexplainable, they made it a god. The sun, the storm, the earthquake, the flood. If it could kill you, and you couldn't understand it, it became divine. This is literally where religion begins. Not from stupidity, from fear, and from being human. But here's the one nobody talks about. The fear that genuinely haunted ancient humans. More than predators. More than starvation. More than the sky itself. The dead. Specifically, the dead coming back. And here's the thing. We don't have to guess about this. We have real archaeological evidence. Physical proof. Dug out of the ground. That this fear was so real. Ancient humans took extreme measures to contain it. Across Europe, from Germany to Italy to Greece, archaeologists have found graves. But not normal graves. Bodies buried face down, heavy rocks piled on top, stones stuffed inside the mouth, limbs tied tightly together. And when you look at the evidence, this wasn't a burial ritual. This wasn't to honor the dead. This was to keep them in the ground. No, these are called deviant burials. And they date back over 4,000 years. The fear was so powerful that people spent real time and real effort making absolutely certain the dead stayed dead, just to be safe. Think about that for a second. These weren't superstitious, uneducated strangers. These were our direct ancestors. And they were so genuinely terrified of what came after death that they pinned bodies to the earth with rocks, just in case. The zombie fear is not a modern invention. It is ancient. It is human. And it was completely real. Here's the part that should genuinely blow your mind. Every single fear we just talked about, you still have a version of it. Fear of the dark, still there. Fear of predators, still there. Quietly hiding behind every sudden noise. Fear of starvation, still there. Every time you eat past the point of being full. Fear of strangers, still there. Running in the background every time you meet someone unfamiliar. Fear of the unexplainable sky, still there. Every time a storm rolls in and your chest gets tight. And fear of something coming back to get you. That's not just still there. That is the entire horror movie industry. Every zombie film, every haunted house, every monster under the bed is just ancient humans sitting around a campfire, piling rocks on a grave. We never stopped being afraid. We just changed the format. But here's what's actually remarkable. Ancient humans were terrified of almost everything. The dark, predators, starvation, disease, strangers, the sky, the dead. They lived inside a world that was trying to kill them from every single direction. And yet, they went anyway. They walked into the dark because they had to hunt. They approached strangers because sometimes that meant trade, not war. They buried their dead with rocks, said their prayers, and got up the next morning. They were scared every single day of their lives, and they survived anyway. Fear didn't stop them. Fear drove them. It was the engine, the thing that kept them moving, adapting, building, creating. And here's the honest truth. It's still driving you. Every time you feel nervous about something new, that is not a flaw. That is 300,000 years of survival, coded into your body by people who were afraid and kept going anyway. You come from those people. So here's my question for you. Which of these fears do you still feel today? The dark? Strangers? Something unexplainable happening to your body? Or maybe that quiet fear, that something from the past, isn't quite done yet? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and I genuinely want to know. And if this video got you thinking, I already made a video about what happens when the sun disappears for 24 hours. And I'll tell you this, ancient humans who witnessed a solar eclipse genuinely believed it was the end of everything. After watching that video, I kind of understand why. That video is right here. See you there.
No soap, no deodorant, no daily shower. For most of human history, that was just normal. So, did ancient humans actually smell bad? This isn't a gross-out video. This is the real science of ancient hygiene. And the answer might completely change how you think about smelling bad. And the twist at the end, about whether ancient humans even noticed their own smell, is going to make you question your own deodorant routine. Stay with me. Let's start with what they actually smelled like. Because the honest answer isn't as simple as, yes, obviously. Ancient humans sweated, walked barefoot, wore animal hides, and rarely if ever washed with anything close to soap. By modern standards, yes, they would have smelled strong. But here's the part that gets left out. Body odor isn't just about washing. It's shaped by diet, environment, clothing, and even genetics, all of which were completely different back then. Someone walking barefoot through open air all day smells very different from someone wearing thick socks and shoes for 12 hours straight. Ancient humans had the barefoot advantage, so they smelled strong by our standards. But did they even notice? That's where this gets interesting. Keep watching. Your nose adapts to whatever smell surrounds you constantly. This is called olfactory adaptation, and it means ancient humans likely couldn't smell themselves at all. If everyone around you smells the same way you do, there's no contrast, no normal to compare against. The entire concept of smelling bad requires something to compare it to. So a time traveler from today would likely be far more disgusted by ancient humans than ancient humans were by each other. But ancient humans weren't completely indifferent to smell either. The ancient Egyptians actually invented one of the first deodorants in recorded history. Their recipe included ground ostrich egg, tortoise shell, and gallnuts mixed into a paste with fat. It wasn't meant to smell good on its own. It was designed to block sweat odor directly, which means the idea of fighting body odor on purpose isn't modern at all. It's at least 3,000 years old. Egypt didn't stop at deodorant. They also made some of the earliest perfumes, thick, oil-based scents worn on the head, neck, and wrists. Cardamom, myrrh, rose, cinnamon. These weren't just pleasant smells, they were status symbols. Smelling good meant you could afford to smell good. So while regular people likely smelled exactly how you'd expect for the era, wealthy ancient Egyptians were arguably more obsessed with smelling good than most people are today. We're halfway through, and the next part, the one civilization that actually bathed daily, completely changes the picture. Stay with me. The ancient Romans were one of history's few civilizations that bathed almost every single day, not occasionally, daily, as both a social custom and a religious one. Public bathhouses weren't just for getting clean. They were where people socialized, did business, and spent hours of their actual day. After bathing, Romans rubbed scented oils into their skin and carried small bottles of fragrance tied to their wrists. For a period in history, this was completely mainstream. Here's the uncomfortable part. By the time you get to medieval Europe, daily bathing mostly disappeared. Things actually got worse before they got better. So ancient humans smell bad isn't really one story. It's several completely different stories, depending on which century and which civilization you're actually talking about. This next part is the reason I made this video. What your own nose would actually think if you stood next to them, and why that's not as obvious as you'd guess. If you stood next to a hunter-gatherer from 50,000 years ago, your modern nose, trained on soap, deodorant, and laundry detergent, would likely find them overwhelming. But that reaction says more about how sensitive modern noses have become than it does about ancient humans actually being dirty. We've spent the last 100 years training our sense of smell to detect and reject body odor immediately. Ancient humans never had that training because they never needed it. Last section. This is the part that connects all of this back to you and your own deodorant. Stay for this one. Modern deodorant and antiperspirant didn't really take off until the early 1900s, meaning most of human history, including fairly recent history, ran without it. Which means the version of normal you grew up with, daily showers, deodorant, scented everything, is actually the unusual chapter in this whole story, not the other way around. Body odor itself isn't a flaw. It's bacteria interacting with sweat on your skin, a completely normal biological process that every human has had for as long as humans have existed. Some people today even carry a specific gene variant that means they produce almost no detectable underarm odor at all. No deodorant required, ever. So did ancient humans smell bad? By our standards, probably yes. By their own standards, there was no bad to compare it to. It was just what humans smelled like. If this changed how you think about your own hygiene routine, share it. Someone you know definitely needs to hear about the ostrich egg deodorant. Subscribe, because the next video covers something about ancient human life that's even stranger than this one. What's the one daily habit ancient humans had that modern science is only now proving was right all along? That's next. See you there. 50,000 years ago, someone had a crush, and it was just as awkward as yours. Ancient humans fell in love. They flirted. They competed. They got jealous. They had their heart broken. And the way they fell in love is almost identical to the way you do it, which is either very comforting or slightly embarrassing. Let's find out. First, what did ancient humans actually find attractive? The answer is going to sound very familiar. Studies across hunter-gatherer societies, the closest living parallel to ancient humans, consistently rank the same top qualities: kindness, humor, and intelligence. Not muscles. Not looks. Kindness. Humor. Intelligence. Physical health mattered. Symmetry, energy, clear skin, because those were honest signals of survival fitness. But being funny? Being kind? That was the real edge. Ancient humans were already looking for a good personality. 50,000 years before dating apps. Now, how did they actually flirt? Brace yourself. Gifts. The oldest known romantic gifts are pierced shell beads, 100,000 years old, found at sites across Africa and the Middle East. Someone made jewelry for someone else because they liked them. Then there was grooming. Ancient humans groomed each other, picking out debris, fixing hair, as a direct bonding and attraction signal, which is basically the ancient version of fixing someone's collar. And then there was showing off, hunting a large animal, telling a great story at the campfire, playing music well. All of it was, let's be honest, ancient showing off. And it worked then exactly the way it works now. But here is where it gets less cute. The competition for partners was intense. Ancient groups were small, usually 20 to 50 people, which means the dating pool was small. Everyone knew everyone. There was no hiding a bad date. The whole tribe saw everything. Ancient groups also traded partners with neighboring tribes. creating alliances through marriage. Love and politics were mixed from the very beginning. So how did they actually choose? Here is what surprised researchers. Women in most ancient groups had significant say in who they paired with. Hunter-gatherer studies show that women consistently prioritized partners who were generous, good providers who shared resources with the group. The ancient version of, does he have his life together? And men? They consistently prioritized partners who were healthy, capable, and skilled, someone who could contribute to survival. The ancient version of, is she interesting? And where there is love, there is jealousy. Ancient humans felt it too, deeply. The oldest known love poem was written 4,000 years ago in Mesopotamia. It describes longing, desire, and separation. And honestly, it could have been written today. They were feeling the exact same things. And when ancient relationships ended, the grief was real. Researchers have found burial sites where people were buried together, holding hands, suggesting they died together, or buried by people who understood their bond. So what happened when ancient humans decided, this is the one? There was a proposal. Sort of. In most ancient hunter-gatherer groups, forming a pair bond involved a combination of gift exchange, public acknowledgement by the group, and starting to share resources, food, space, tools. The community recognized the couple. Pair bonding, choosing one long-term partner, appears in the fossil record as far back as 3.5 million years ago, which means exclusive long-term partnership is not a modern invention. It is one of the oldest human instincts. And once they were together, ancient couples stayed together because survival depended on it. But they also had conflict. They argued. They had to negotiate. They got annoyed at each other. Ancient couples had the same relationship friction modern couples have because they were just people with all the same needs. In love songs, the most common type of song in every human culture ever studied, were almost certainly being sung around ancient campfires long before writing existed. Here is the thing about ancient love. It was not romantic in the movie sense. It was harder, shorter, and more uncertain than anything we face today. But they chose it anyway. They made jewelry for each other anyway. They sang songs anyway. They buried each other holding hands. Because love, the real kind, was never about the circumstances. It was always about the person. Every time you have a crush, every time you give someone a gift, every time you make someone laugh to impress them, you're doing something ancient humans did. 50,000 years ago, the butterflies, the jealousy, the terrible timing, the wanting someone who makes you feel safe. That is not weakness. That is 50,000 years of being human. If this made you feel a little better about being a walking disaster, share it. Someone you know needs this. Subscribe to keep finding out that ancient humans were absolutely just like us in every way that matters. 50,000 years ago, someone got very, very sick, and the people around them didn't just watch and hope. They had healers. They had medicine. They even had surgery, and some of what they used actually worked. This is how ancient humans handle being sick. First, let's be honest about what ancient humans were dealing with. Parasites, infections, broken bones, tooth decay, malaria, tuberculosis. Ancient life was physically brutal. Injuries were constant. Illness was everywhere. So they had no choice but to figure out how to deal with it. And they did. Here is the first thing that surprises people. Every ancient group had a dedicated healer. Not a lucky guess. Not a coincidence. Anthropologists have found evidence of dedicated healers in every ancient culture ever studied. These were not random people. They trained for years. They memorized plants, dosages, symptoms. The healer was one of the most important people in the group. More important than the strongest hunter. Now here is where it gets genuinely shocking. Ancient humans performed brain surgery. The procedure is called trepanation, drilling a hole in the skull. The oldest confirmed trepanation skull is from 9,000 years ago. But we have found over 1,500 of these skulls worldwide. Here's the most incredible part. Many of those skulls show bone regrowth around the hole, meaning the patients survived and lived for years after the surgery. 9,000 years ago. No hospital, no anesthesia, and some of them made it. Brain surgery was not even the most extreme thing they did. In 2022, archaeologists in Borneo found a skeleton 31,000 years old with a surgically amputated lower leg. The wound had healed completely. That means someone performed a clean amputation, controlled the bleeding, prevented infection, and kept that patient alive for years. 31,000 years ago. This was not an accident. This was deliberate medicine. But surgery was not their only tool. Ancient humans were also expert botanists. We have found 70,000-year-old burials where the body was surrounded by medicinal plants, yarrow, groundsel, and ephedra, all of which are still used in medicine today. Willow bark, used for thousands of years for pain, turned out to contain salicin, the active ingredient in aspirin. They were not guessing. They tested, observed, passed the knowledge down, generation after generation. But ancient medicine was not just physical. It was emotional and spiritual too. Every ancient healing system included music, rhythm, and ritual. And this was not superstition. Modern research has confirmed that rhythm reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, and speeds up physical recovery. Ancient healers understood something modern medicine is only recently taking seriously. Healing happens in community. Now for the one that always gets people. Ancient humans had dentists. In modern-day Pakistan, archaeologists found teeth drilled with flint tools 9,000 years ago. The holes were clean, precisely drilled. Researchers found no decay inside, meaning these were preventive procedures, not emergency fixes. Ancient humans were going to the dentist before agriculture even existed. One of the most human things ancient healers did was recognize mental suffering and treat it across ancient cultures worldwide, from early Mesopotamia to indigenous groups in the Americas. We find consistent evidence of rituals specifically designed for emotional suffering, not physical injury. They used music, storytelling, community circles, physical touch, things that modern therapy is only now validating as scientifically effective. They did not understand the biology, but they understood the human being in front of them. For all they knew, there were things they could not stop. Tuberculosis has been found in skeletons 9,000 years old. Malaria has infected humans for at least 30,000 years. The flu has been killing people since before recorded history. The same diseases that terrified them still terrify us. 50,000 years later. That is not a coincidence. That is how dangerous they always were. Here is the truth about ancient medicine. It was not primitive. It was the beginning of something. The healer who drilled skulls 9,000 years ago was doing exactly what a neurosurgeon does today, looking at a suffering person and trying to fix it with every tool available. The tools changed. The instinct never did. Ancient humans looked at suffering and refused to do nothing. Same instinct, different tools. That is what you are. 50,000 years of people who refuse to give up on each other. If this changed how you see ancient humans, share it with someone who still thinks they were just cavemen. Subscribe if you want to keep finding out what ancient humans actually knew and what they got right before the rest of us figured it out. Next video, what did ancient humans actually know about the universe? The answer is going to surprise you. See you there.
It's noon. Sun's out. You're living your life. And then, in an instant, the sun is just gone. No warning, no eclipse, no clouds. Just gone. And the scariest part? You won't even know for 8 more minutes. This video is the minute-by-minute breakdown of what actually happens. Some of it is science. Some of it is terrifying. And one thing will genuinely change how you see the sun tomorrow morning. Here's something that will mess with your brain. Light takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds to travel from the sun to Earth. So right now, the sun you're seeing, that's already 8 minutes old. If the sun vanished right now, you'd still see it. Smiling, shining, gone. And it gets weirder. Gravity also travels at the speed of light. So for 8 minutes, Earth is still orbiting something that doesn't exist anymore. Then the signal arrives, and the leash snaps. 8 minutes and 20 seconds after the sun disappears. Every person on the day side of Earth looks up at the same time. And the sky goes black. Not night black. Not storm black. The deepest, most absolute black you have ever seen. At that exact moment, Earth stops orbiting. 30 kilometers per second. In a straight line into nothing. We are no longer part of the solar system. We are a rock. Alone. Falling through space. Within the first hour, full civilizational panic. Noon looks like midnight. The moon, gone dark. It has no light of its own, and 5% of the world's power, every solar panel on Earth, instantly hits zero. The cold doesn't wait. In the first hour alone, 4 to 5 degrees drop. Every 24 hours after that, another 20 degrees gone. By the end of this single day, it'll be the coldest Earth has been in modern human history. Then something strange happens. The wind stops. Completely. The sun is what drives weather, heating air unevenly, creating pressure, creating movement. Without it, silence. The planet holds its breath. Animals don't need a news alert. They just know. Birds land and refuse to fly. Owls wake up at noon. Roosters crow at 3 p.m. into a black sky. Every dog on Earth starts howling at once. Nature knows something humans are still Googling. By hour 2, every plant on Earth pauses. Photosynthesis needs sunlight. No sun, no process. One night, plants can handle it. But this isn't one night. This is the beginning of the longest darkness in Earth's history. Here's what actually saves us, for a while anyway. The oceans. They've been absorbing solar heat for billions of years. Right now, they're releasing all of it. The ocean is humanity's emergency heater, and it won't last forever. Hour 6. Half of Earth was already in nighttime when this happened. For them, it's just a long night. Some are sleeping through the apocalypse. Some haven't even checked their phone. Hour 8. Temperature has dropped 20 degrees globally. Coastal cities? Still survivable. The ocean is a shield. But inland cities, deserts, mountains, already below freezing. And it was summer yesterday. Governments activate emergency protocols, winter gear in August, emergency broadcasts, stay inside. But nobody, not one scientist, not one leader, can answer the only question that matters. Is it coming back? Hour 10. And here's the part nobody expected. The sky is gorgeous. Without sunlight washing them out, every star blazes. The Milky Way, visible to the naked eye for the first time for most people alive. In the middle of the worst day in human history, the universe just put on a show. Hour 12, the halfway point. Entire planet in darkness. 20 degrees colder, crops dying, animals disoriented, governments scrambling. And yet humans are still alive because of something we figured out 1.5 million years ago. Fire, humanity's original backup plan. Our first technology. The day we learned to make fire, we stopped needing the sun to survive the night. And right now, every campfire, every power plant, every lit match is the most important thing on Earth. Hour 16. Cut to 4 kilometers below the ocean surface. Nothing changed down here. Hydrothermal vents, tube worms, blind shrimp. They've never seen the sun. They don't need it. They are genuinely having a normal Tuesday. Hour 20. This is where it gets serious. 40 degrees of global temperature loss. Rivers beginning to ice over. Crops dead. The food supply chain, the thing that feeds 8 billion people, is in free fall. Hour 23. 1 hour left. You're cold. You're scared. The world is darker than it's ever been. But the internet still works. The lights are still on. And somewhere, someone is still watching YouTube. Hour 24. A sliver of orange on the horizon. Then more. Then the whole sky. The sun is back, and I promise you, no human being in history has ever been happier to see a Monday morning. Temperature recovering. Plants waking back up. The ocean switches back to absorbing. Animals come out of wherever they hid. Life survives. Because 24 hours wasn't enough to break 4.6 billion years of stubbornness. But here's what they don't tell you. The sun will die, not today, not in our lifetime, but in about 5 billion years. It will expand, swallow Earth, then go cold and dark forever. And when that happens, there is no hour 25. 24 hours that we survive, 24 days we don't. 24 years, frozen rock, drifting, silent, forever. The difference between life and death on this planet is just that thing you sleep through every morning. Tomorrow, when your alarm goes off, when light hits your face through the curtain, that's a 4.6 billion-year-old nuclear reactor, 150 million kilometers away, keeping you alive, on purpose, every single day. Here's my question. If the sun disappeared starting right now, what would you do in those first 8 minutes? Before the sky even goes dark, when you still don't know? Drop it below. I read every single one.
Ancient humans ate up to 150 different foods every single week. Most modern people eat fewer than 20. And the moment that changed is the moment everything went wrong. This is not a diet video. This is about what the human body was actually built to eat and what happened to us when we stopped eating that way. And the last thing on this list, what happened to the human body the moment farming started, is the one that will change how you think about every meal you eat. Stay with me. Let's start with what they actually ate, because it is nothing like what most people picture. Hunter-gatherers ate a combination of meat, fish, organs, eggs, insects, roots, tubers, fruits, berries, nuts, seeds, leaves, and bark. Not one or two of those. All of them. Regularly. Seasonally. Whatever was available. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer groups, the closest living parallel to ancient humans, show an average of between 100 and 150 distinct plant species consumed per group per year. For comparison, the average modern diet includes fewer than 20 unique foods eaten regularly. This diversity was not a luxury. It was the default. Ancient humans did not choose between 150 plants. They simply ate what the environment provided. Variety was built into their lives before it was even a concept. That is just what they found lying around. How they hunted and what they did with food after is where it gets genuinely surprising. Keep watching. The plant knowledge ancient humans carried was extraordinary. They knew which plants were edible, which were medicinal, which were toxic, and which became edible only after specific preparation. Some roots and tubers require roasting to remove toxins. Some berries must be combined with other plants to be safe. Ancient humans figured all of this out over thousands of years of careful observation and passed the knowledge down. They were the original nutritionists. They also ate insects regularly: grubs, larvae, termites, crickets, beetles. High protein, high fat, easy to find. Not a fallback, a staple. Now, how do they actually hunt? Because the image most people have is wrong. The dominant hunting method for most of human prehistory was persistence hunting, chasing an animal at a slow jog for hours, sometimes an entire day, until it collapsed from heat exhaustion. Ancient humans were not faster than their prey. They were endurance machines. They simply refused to stop. This works because humans are the best long-distance runners on the planet. We sweat. Most animals pant to cool down, which means they have to stop to breathe. Humans can run and cool down at the same time. That is our evolutionary superpower. They also hunted cooperatively. Groups of 5 to 10 people working together, communicating, splitting up, cutting off escape routes. Ancient humans invented team strategy before they invented writing. Here is the one that surprises people every time. Ancient humans fermented food on purpose 100,000 years ago. Archaeological evidence shows deliberate food fermentation, fruit, honey, starchy plants, at sites dated to at least 100,000 years ago in Africa. Not accidental, deliberate. Ancient humans understood that letting food sit and change made it safer, more nutritious, and last longer. This was biotechnology, just without the lab. We are halfway through. In the next section, what farming actually did to the human body is the one that changes everything. Stay with me. Food was not just fuel. For ancient humans, it was social. Every group had strict rules about how food was shared. Who got what? Who ate first? What happened to the best cuts of a hunt? In many hunter-gatherer groups, the hunter who made the kill was the last one to receive food from it. Keeping the best for yourself was considered shameful. Generosity with food was the primary social currency. Food was also ritualized. Certain animals were only eaten in specific seasons. Certain plants only harvested after specific actions. Food and meaning were inseparable. Every meal was connected to something larger. And then, around 10,000 years ago, something changed. Humans started farming, and it looked like progress. It was not entirely progress. The agricultural revolution made food more predictable, but also made food less diverse. Farming groups collapsed their diet down to 2 or 3 staple crops: wheat, rice, corn, depending on region. From 150 foods to 3. And the human body paid for that immediately. This next section is the reason I made this video. What farming did to the human skeleton, and what it means for what you eat today. Archaeological evidence is clear on this. When populations transitioned from hunting and gathering to farming, average human height dropped, bone density dropped, tooth decay appeared, nutritional deficiency diseases appeared. The skeletons of early farmers are measurably smaller and sicker than the hunter-gatherers who came before them. This was not because farming was bad. It was because dietary diversity collapsed. The hunter-gatherer body was getting vitamins, minerals, fiber, and proteins from hundreds of different sources. The early farmer was getting carbohydrates from 3 crops and almost nothing else. The body noticed immediately. Average human height did not recover to pre-agricultural levels until the 20th century. It took 10,000 years to get back to where we started. Let that land. There are ancient foods that simply do not exist anymore. Not because they were forgotten, but because farming replaced them so completely that the plants themselves disappeared. The ancient wild banana was almost entirely seed. The modern banana is a cultivated mutation. The ancient avocado was smaller and oilier. The ancient tomato was the size of a pea. Almost every fruit and vegetable you eat today is a domesticated version of something ancient humans would barely recognize. Last section. This is the part that connects all of this back to you and what you eat today. Stay for this one. Every modern diet trend, paleo, Mediterranean, whole foods, plant diversity, is essentially trying to reconstruct what ancient humans ate by default. without knowing that is what they are doing. The gut microbiome, the bacteria that run your digestion, immunity, and even your mood, thrives on dietary diversity. Ancient humans fed at 150 different inputs a week. Most modern people feed at the same 10 to 15 things over and over. The microbiome narrows, and when the microbiome narrows, everything narrows with it. Ancient humans did not count calories. They did not track macros. They did not debate whether carbs were good or bad. They simply ate everything the world around them offered, in season, in variety, in community. And their bodies ran exactly the way human bodies are supposed to run. The human body was built for variety. It was designed by 50,000 years of eating everything. And when you eat the same 10 things on rotation, your body is running on a system that was never designed for that. It was designed for 150. If this made you look at your plate differently, share it. Someone you know is eating the same 10 things every week and wondering why they feel the way they do. Subscribe, because the next video covers what ancient humans feared the most. And the answer is not what you think. What did ancient humans fear the most? Not predators, not starvation, something else entirely. See you there.
The World Cup is happening right now. Billions of people watching. The stakes feel impossibly high. They are nowhere close to how high the stakes used to be. Thousands of years before FIFA, before the Olympics even existed, ancient civilizations were already playing organized team sports in front of massive crowds. And in its most extreme form, losing this game could mean death. Stay with me, because the comparison to today's tournament is going to surprise you. Let's start at the beginning. Because this sport is older than almost anything you'd guess. The Mesoamerican ball game is the oldest known team sport in the world. Archaeologists have found ball courts dating back over 3,000 years, centuries before the first Greek Olympics. It was played by the Olmec first, then the Maya, then the Aztec, three major civilizations, one after another, all playing some version of the same game. Today, a modernized version called Ulama is still played in parts of Mexico. This sport has survived for over 3,000 years. That's how old it is. What the game actually involved is where this gets intense. Keep watching. We don't actually know the exact rules. No official rulebook survived. But from accounts and the surviving modern version, we can piece together the basics. The ball could not touch the ground. It could not be played with your hands or feet. Players struck it mainly with their hips, sometimes forearms, paddles, or a stone handhold. Later versions added a stone ring high on the court wall. Getting the ball through it was an instant win and extremely rare. The ball itself wasn't light. It was made of solid rubber, and could weigh up to 9 pounds, heavier than a bowling ball. Getting hit by it at full speed wasn't a minor inconvenience. Historical accounts describe serious injuries, and players sometimes wore padding and protective belts just to survive the game. This wasn't a casual backyard game. This was a full-contact sport played for some of the highest stakes imaginable. We're halfway through. And the next part, what was actually at stake when you lost, is the reason I made this video. Stay with me. Sometimes, instead of going to war, two rival city-states would settle their dispute with this game instead. Whoever won, ruled. Which means a single game could decide which city ruled over the other without a single soldier dying in battle. But for the losing side, the consequences could still be brutal. Prisoners of war were sometimes forced to play, and the outcome was rigged from the start. In the most extreme version of the game, the losing team, or sometimes just the losing captain, could be sacrificed after the match. Carvings from the period show this happening. It wasn't a myth added later, it was depicted by the people who actually played the game. Winners, on the other hand, received real trophies, carved stone yokes, ceremonial handstones, and head-shaped trophies called hatches. So that's the brutal version. But not every ancient competition worked like this. Right after this, the ancient Olympics, and they were stranger than you'd think. Around the same era, on the other side of the world, The ancient Greeks were holding their own version of a World Cup, the Olympics. And it had some genuinely strange rules. Athletes competed completely nude. Women were banned from competing, though a few found loopholes. There was also a strict truce. No wars were allowed during the games. Armies had to wait until the competition was over to fight each other again. There were no gold, silver, or bronze medals. The only official prize for winning an event was a simple wreath made of olive leaves. But winning still made you a hero. Some cities rewarded champions with money, statues, and free meals for life. One event, called Pancration, had only 2 rules. No biting. No eye gouging. Everything else, including the match ending in death, was allowed. Last section. This is where all of this connects back to the tournament happening right now. Stay for this one. Today's World Cup has billions of dollars on the line, global fame, and entire countries holding their breath. But nobody is getting sacrificed at the final whistle. Losing a match today means heartbreak, criticism, maybe a rough headline. Losing the ancient game could mean your actual life. Which means every time you watch a missed penalty and think that's brutal, somewhere in history, that exact phrase used to be far more literal. Competitive sport isn't a modern invention. It's something humans have organized, obsessed over, and built entire civilizations' identities around for thousands of years. The stakes have changed. The rules have changed. But the basic human urge to compete, to watch, and to celebrate a win hasn't changed at all. So the next time you're watching the World Cup and the stakes feel unbearably high somewhere, an ancient ballplayer would tell you, it could be worse. If this changed how you watch the World Cup, share it. Someone you know needs to hear about the game where losing meant death. Subscribe, because the next video covers something about ancient human life that's even stranger than this one.
"50,000 years ago, the sun is setting. A family huddled around a small fire. Their eyes dart into the darkness, closing in around them. They are not just uncomfortable. They are terrified, but not of what you think. They are not afraid of the cold. They are not afraid of predators. They are afraid that the dark is alive. And they were not entirely wrong. To understand this fear, you have to understand their world. There was no electricity, no electrics, no phone with a flashlight. When the sun went down, everything changed. It did not just get dark. It got different. Sounds shifted. Nocturnal animals woke up. Temperature dropped. And most importantly, they could not see. Human eyes are built for daylight. In complete darkness, we are nearly blind. Ancient humans knew this, and they knew what that meant. But they also believed something else, something we are about to uncover. In almost every ancient culture, from Africa to Europe to Asia to the Americas, darkness was not just empty space. It was inhabited. Egyptian burial rites were designed to protect the soul from creatures that stalked the dark underworld. Indigenous Australians believed the dream time was alive at night, a spirit world that moved when the sun left. Norse cultures believed monsters and giants walked freely after sundown. Greek mythology was filled with creatures that only existed in darkness. The banshee, the wendigo, the shadow walkers. These were not bedtime stories invented to scare children. These were real beliefs about the structure of reality. To ancient humans, darkness was not a place where bad things could happen. It was a place where impossible things existed constantly. And that is terrifying on a completely different level than fear of a lion. But here is where it gets interesting. Ancient humans were not completely wrong about the dark being dangerous. Sabertooth cats, hyenas, cave bears, leopards, they all hunted at night. They all had far better night vision than humans. Ancient humans were the slowest runners in a nighttime ecosystem. They had the worst night vision, the worst night hearing for hunting. They were essentially walking prey. So what did they do? They invented fire. And fire did not just give them light. It transformed their entire relationship with darkness. Suddenly, they could stay awake all night. They could keep predators away. They could cook food. They could stay warm. They could survive. But fire did something else. Something scientists now understand completely. When you sit around a fire in the dark, surrounded by shadows, your brain does not just register safety. It sees movement. It sees shapes. It sees faces in the flames. And for ancient humans, their imagination filled in what the darkness hid. The fire kept them alive, but also trained their brain to expect the supernatural in darkness. This is actually why you still feel uneasy in the dark today. Scientists call it the hyperactive agent detection system. Your brain is wired to see patterns and presences where nothing exists. If you hear a sound in the dark, your brain immediately asks, what made that? Is it a threat? If a shadow moves, your brain says, something is there. Something is watching. This is not weakness. This is evolution. Your ancient ancestors were most afraid of darkness, who believed in spirits, who stayed close to fire. They survived more often. Their fear kept them alert. It kept them close to their tribe. It kept them from wandering alone into the night. Their children inherited that wariness, and their children's children, and so on for 50,000 years, which is exactly why you still run to the light switch, why you still imagine things in shadows, why you still feel that presence in a dark room, even when your rational brain knows nothing is there. You are not irrational. You are not weak. You are running on ancient survival software, written in 50,000 years of darkness and fear. So the next time you feel that chill, that ancient primal dread of the dark, remember what it is. Is the voice of your ancestors still trying to keep you alive? The dark terrified ancient humans not because they were primitive. It terrified them because their fear kept them alive. And now, that fear lives in you. But here is the deeper question. If ancient humans feared the dark because they believed it was full of spirits, what did they believe happened when a human finally entered that darkness forever? What did ancient humans believe happened after death? That is next.
What if everything you learned about ancient history was missing a chapter? Not lost, not forgotten, deliberately removed. What if someone, or something, came to Earth thousands of years ago, found what humans had built, and decided we weren't supposed to know about it? Here's the thing about human history that nobody talks about. There are massive gaps in it. Civilization as we know it supposedly started around 5,000 years ago. Writing, cities, governments, science, all of it appearing almost overnight in multiple places on opposite sides of the planet at the same time, with no explanation for how they got there. Clue number 1, Göbekli Tepe. In 1994, archaeologists discovered something in Turkey that broke every rule of ancient history. A massive temple complex, carved from stone, dating back 12,000 years. That is 7,000 years before Stonehenge, 6,000 years before the pyramids. And here is what made experts go silent. It was built by hunter-gatherers, people who supposedly didn't have civilization yet. They had no cities, no writing, no government, and yet they moved stones the weight of elephants and carved them with precision that still confuses engineers today. But that's not even the strangest part. At some point, someone deliberately buried it. They filled it in with dirt and hid it underground. A 12,000-year-old temple, buried on purpose. Why would you hide something like that? Clue number 2, Pumapunku, Bolivia, high in the Andes Mountains. Stone blocks so precisely cut that a sheet of paper cannot fit between them. H-shaped interlocking pieces, perfect right angles. drilled holes with zero margin of error, made from andesite, one of the hardest stones on Earth, with no metal tools, no wheels, no written instructions of any kind. And the civilization that built it? We don't know who they were. They left no records. They didn't write anything down. They just vanished. Clue number 3, the Sumerian clay tablets. The Sumerians were one of Earth's first known civilizations, and they left behind thousands of clay tablets describing their history in extraordinary detail. On those tablets, they described beings from the sky, called the Anunnaki, who came to Earth, taught humanity everything, mathematics, astronomy, agriculture, law, writing, and then left. The Sumerians didn't write this as mythology. They wrote it the same way they wrote everything else, as history. Clue number 4, the knowledge gap. In ancient Egypt, the earliest pyramids were the most advanced. They got worse over time, not better. Think about that for a moment. Usually, technology improves. You start simple and build up. But Egypt started at the top. The Great Pyramid, the first one built, is still the most precisely constructed structure on Earth. We cannot replicate it today. With all of our modern technology, our lasers, our computers, our cranes, we still don't fully understand how it was built. Something gave them a head start. And then there's the night that gave this video its name. The Library of Alexandria, 700,000 scrolls. Everything humanity had collected, recorded, and preserved up to that point in history. Mathematics, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, maps, history, all of it, in one place, and then gone, in a fire. Some historians believe it burned in stages over many years, but others point to a specific night when the greatest single act of intellectual destruction in human history took place. And some believe it was not an accident. Here is the pattern that connects all of this. Every time an ancient civilization reached its highest point, it was reset. The Sumerians, gone. Egypt, at its peak, gone. The Indus Valley civilization, which had urban planning, sewage systems, and grid cities more advanced than anything in Europe for another 3,000 years. Gone. No major war, no clear natural disaster, just gone. What if history isn't a story of human progress? What if it's a story of human progress being interrupted? Now, here's where honesty matters. Most archaeologists have explanations for all of this. Göbekli Tepe was buried as a ritual act by the people who built it. Puma Punku used construction techniques we are still discovering. The Sumerians wrote mythology, not a literal historical record. And the Library of Alexandria burned gradually, not in one dramatic night. Science has answers, not perfect answers, but answers. The question is, do those answers feel complete to you? Because here is what I think is the most interesting possibility. Not that aliens came and stole our history, but that we are the ones who forgot it. Every mysterious site, every unexplained structure, every civilization that appeared from nowhere with knowledge they shouldn't have had. What if they weren't visited by something from outside Earth? What if there was a civilization before us, so advanced, so far ahead, that when it collapsed, everything it built looked impossible to the people who came after? What if the real mystery isn't what came from space? What if the real mystery is what we forgot about ourselves? So here is my question for you. Do you think ancient aliens came and rewrote human history? Or do you think we are simply underestimating what humans were capable of? Or is the truth somewhere in the middle? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And for this video, I genuinely want to know what you think. And if this made you question what ancient humans were really capable of. I made a video about what ancient humans feared most, because it connects directly to why they may have worshipped whatever visited them from the sky. That video is right here. See you there.